Real procure-to-pay systems do not require exact equality in the three-way match, and it is worth understanding why, because the naive version is very tempting. Freight, rounding, partial units, and minor price drift make exactness impractical. If your match demands that the invoice equals the purchase order to the last kobo, then every invoice raises an exception. And a queue of 400 exceptions is a queue nobody looks at. A control that fires on everything is not a control. So instead, real systems define tolerances, and they are typically configurable per vendor or per category. There are three kinds, and each answers a different question. Quantity tolerance. The invoice may bill up to some % more than was actually received. Price tolerance. The invoice unit price may exceed the purchase order price by some %, or by an absolute amount, whichever is smaller. That whichever is smaller is doing real work. 2% of a 50 naira item is 1 naira, which is noise. 2% of a 50 million naira item is a million naira, which is not noise. Capping the percentage with an absolute figure stops a percentage tolerance becoming absurd at the top end. And total tolerance, an absolute currency amount below which any discrepancy is simply ignored because the cost of investigating exceeds the discrepancy. Our implementation supports all three, defaulting to 0% on quantity, 2% on price, and a 1000 naira absolute floor. 0 on quantity is deliberate. If they billed you for more than arrived, you want to know every time. And note the last line, which is the part people get wrong. These are stored as configuration, not as constants in the code. The finance director will want to change the price tolerance, probably in your second week of production, and that must not be a deployment. Chapter 5 builds all three into the match engine as a value that gets passed in. And now the other side of the ledger, what we are deliberately not building. Scope control is an architectural skill, and it is one that is almost never taught, so let us be explicit. This course builds the spine of a procure-to-pay system to production standard. It does not build request for quotation and vendor bidding portals. It does not build contract lifecycle management or blanket orders. No multi-currency revaluation or foreign exchange gain and loss postings. No landed cost allocation, so no apportioning freight, duty and insurance across lines. No general ledger posting or period close. No vendor self-service portal. And no optical character recognition of scanned invoices. But notice how that list is framed. Each of those is a natural extension, not a missing foundation. By the end of this course you will have the architectural apparatus to add any of them without disturbing what already exists, and that is the real test of an architecture. Not whether it has every feature, but whether the next feature costs the same as the last one. A system where feature number 20 is 10 times harder than feature number 2 has failed, however clean its folders look. Appendix C sketches the design for the two most commonly requested. That closes Chapter 1. Next we turn to the architecture itself, starting with the one rule everything else hangs from.